Hey everybody, Charles for HumbleMechanic.com here today with episode 55 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. We're going to step out of the norm a little bit on our show today and talk about some of the downsides of the automotive industry and specifically about being a technician. Now, I work really hard to keep this show as positive as I can and not to get sucked down in that negative trap that is so easy to get into. When I first started the blog and the show, I committed to not making this a show about me just bitching about work. But I think I would be doing you guys a disservice if I never talked about any of the negative stuff in the industry. So through the entire show today, what I want you to be thinking of in the back of your mind is that for the most part, all this is really what you make of it. There's some things that there's nothing we can do about and no matter what are never going to change. But a lot of this stuff isn't really as bad as we make it out to be, or it's bad but there's a counterpart to it that's really, really awesome that offsets it. So again, be thinking the entire time, these things, a lot of them are really what you make of it. And remember that there's no jobs that are perfect. All right, so first up, this job is very physically demanding. You're on your feet all day. We get the pleasure of lifting heavy things all the time. You spend half the day either bent over an engine compartment or tucked up underneath the dash, and the other half of the day with your arms up like this, standing on your tiptoes with your head turned to the side, trying to reach that connector on top of the transmission. So your body's always in these really awkward positions, and it can do a lot of damage to your back and your knees and your fingers and hands. I know when it gets cold, my hands always hurt. The job is also dangerous. Something as simple as a slip and a fall or a cut and a scrape can really put you out of commission. I know I got more scars on my hands than you might believe, but hey, I'm lucky to at least have all of them. It could be even things like parts falling or a bolt falling off a lift and bopping you on the head. There's the potential for safety equipment to fail. And don't forget the idiot coworker next to you who is maybe working in an unsafe manner and can cause damage in your bay as well. We also work with chemicals all the time, whether it's gasoline, engine oil, transmission fluid, brake fluid, these highly caustic and damaging chemicals. Your hands are forever covered in these things. And then there's also the aerosol side. These fumes that we're breathing in all day can really wreak havoc on your body. Luckily, there's a lot of safety gear out there to help prevent some of this stuff. Safety glasses, wearing gloves. I'm one that wears gloves almost all day for multiple reasons. The chemicals is one reason, and then not having to wash my hands a million times when I'm getting in and out of customers' cars. But there's a ton of safety equipment out there, and I really recommend that you guys are using it. There's also a really negative attitude from the general public towards technicians. We're seen as sloppy or rip-off artists or stupid or dirty or whatever, and it's actually obviously quite the opposite. You can't be too terribly stupid and be successful as an automotive technician. But I think a lot of that comes from the industry earning its reputation. There are still, today, right now, a lot of scumbag technicians and shops out there just looking to rip people off and take their money. But I think by and large, most of us are really awesome and don't try and do that. We just want to fix cars. But most people hate getting their car fixed, so they're already with their defenses up, and then any little thing that goes wrong, is immediately escalated all the way up. So again, the industry has really built this reputation, and it's hard once that reputation is built throughout the entire industry to start overcoming that because you basically have to do it one customer at a time. Uninformed people see us as replaceable. Now, I am of the opinion that every single person in their job is 100% replaceable. So that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if your top-level technician decided to quit or you fired them tomorrow, they would assume that you could replace them instantly or take 2 or 3 lower-level technicians and replace the role that they were in. And these people could be the general public or upper management or even manufacturers. There's just this idea that you can take a top-level guy out of the shop, take 3 bottom-level guys, put them in, and those all equal the same thing. And that's just simply not true. And we see that today, as a matter of fact, with how hard it is to find someone that's halfway decent. Even a new guy coming out of school with the right attitude seems to be tough. I know there's a bunch of places near me that are hiring and begging for technicians. My dealership's had a hell of a time trying to find someone that'll even come in on time, let alone has any mechanical skill or tools or the ability to step right in and do the job. It's really tough to find technicians. We're also expected to know everything. We're expected to know how every feature on every car ever built works. Not only how it works, but how to fix it. Not only how to fix it, but how to diagnose it over the phone with weird descriptions based on what a customer says. I can tell you there's a ton of features on Volkswagens that I don't know, especially on the new stuff. You know, the 15 Touareg radio, when you push a certain button, might do a feature that I have no idea about. That's a good point where customers know more about these little tiny features because they drive the car every day, where a technician isn't going to. We're expected to be right 100% of the time no matter what. We're expected to have every tool ever made in order to fix every car ever built. Especially at the dealership, you know, we're expected to have all the tools for all the cars from 1950 to 2015. And that's simply just not something that'll happen. You know, there's no one in their job, no matter what they do, that can be right 100% of the time. It's impossible. We're all human. We all make mistakes. My goal has always been to keep those mistakes as few as possible and as affordable as possible. There's also the flat rate system, which has a ton of flaws in it. I've done a show about flat rate before, so I won't go deep into it. I'll put a link in the show notes for you guys if you want to learn about flat rate. But flat rate does have a lot of issues with it. There's a lot of good things about flat rate. There's a lot of motivation about flat rate, but it's not perfect, and I don't know that there'll ever be a pay system that can be 100% perfect. Now, we've spent a lot of time today talking about all these really bad things about the automotive industry, yet I still get up every day and do it. There's a ton of other people that get up every day and do it. Some hate it, some love it. But remember what I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of this is really what you make of it. I think flat rate's good. I turn a pretty good amount of hours on flat rate. So when I have to do a 3-minute, 5-minute job not getting paid, I know I've already made that time. So we have to remember, no job is perfect. There's negatives to everything that people do. Even people that own their own business that maybe have to work 15, 17, 19 hours a day, that's a negative. Now, I think a lot of times the positive of that outweighs the negative, but that still can be viewed as a negative. It all boils down to this. Bitching gets nothing done. Standing around with the guys at the back of the shop, smoking cigarettes, crying about how hard work is, gets nothing done. Getting your butt back in the shop and turning wrenches is how you make yourself successful in this career. You have to focus on the things that are good about the job. Don't completely dismiss the negatives because you need to have them in the back of your mind. But if you get sucked down in that negative trap, it's really easy to stay there. It's really hard to get back out of it. Heck, write a list of things that are really awesome about your job and look at that every morning before you go to work and go, man, that's not really all that bad. You know, for me, I have 3 weeks paid vacation. I have a 4-day work week. I work with a bunch of really good guys. I got a pretty good service advisor. I got a really good service manager. I got an awesome warranty clerk and a good parts department. So all those negative things that I just talked about are overcome by some of these that are really, really awesome. And when it boils down to it, if it's that bad, quit. Do something else. Work somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Don't stay in a job that you absolutely hate that makes you miserable. It's just not worth it. Now, if this is the first show you've ever watched, trust me when I tell you that most shows aren't just me talking about all the really bad things about the automotive industry. Like I said at the beginning, I work really hard to make this a positive show and not just suck you guys down into that negative trap. But if I never talked about these things, I think I would be doing you guys a really big disservice, especially you new guys coming into the field. There's things you need to know. There's things that your tech school's not going to tell you because they want you focused on the positives. And that's really where you need to be. But there are things that you need to expect to happen in the industry that maybe aren't awesome and can even be as bad as making you rethink your choices. But again, these things are what you make of it. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. If you have any questions or comments, post it in the comments section below. Hey, if you like the video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the blog, humblemechanic.com, and obviously on YouTube. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.